Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Droppin Knowledge with Noah. And today's episode, we're going to dive deep on some nerdy stats around the Cox Automotive digitization of automotive retailing study. So for the past few years, Cox has been doing a study really focusing in on digital retail and its effect on the automotive industry. But in this year's study, we actually dove deep into DR and AI. So it's got a lot of good information, not only on consumer preferences for these tools and these processes, but also what dealers are reporting for how these tools are actually performing and helping their business on a day-to-day basis. So let's go ahead, jump right in and check out some of these stats right now. So first of all, study methodology. We surveyed 2,193 consumers. 1,926 of them were shoppers, people planning to purchase a vehicle in the next 12 months. 267 of them were people who bought a car within 24 hours of us surveying them. And then there were 385 franchise dealers. So a huge data set, going to give us really reliable metrics to measure, right? Now, what are we seeing in the space? Dealerships are actually growing investment in online retailing tools despite shrinking profits. So profits margins are compressing, but we're still investing in these tools because they actually help us hold margin and sell more cars. So a couple of stats here, not going to be a big surprise, right? Higher than normal profitability has ended. So back in 2021, we were absolutely crushing it. Now in 2024, last year, percentage of dealers reporting weaker profits jumped to 42%. I'm guessing 2025 is not going to be much different there. I mean, we did see kind of a boom earlier in the year, but I know that things are kind of rounding off and drying up as we round out the end of this year. Now, the other thing too is most dealerships, they are investing in digital retailing, whether it's credit applications, approvals, incentive information, finalizing purchase price, getting payments, providing deal breakdowns and details, and selecting F&I add-ons. Not really news to us. Most OEMs require some sort of digital retailing solution on a dealership's website. So we know that a lot of dealerships are investing in these, right? Now, what we are seeing though is dealerships investing in more in-depth digital retailing tools and offering more steps online. Now, this says offer every purchase step online. So that is not an e-commerce solution. We're not talking Carvana or Tesla. This is a digital retailing tool, but where you can actually do the purchase at home. So figure out your payment, apply for credit, add incentives, add accessories, maybe schedule a test drive, put a reservation down, and sign a contract remotely, right? That's what we're seeing more of in 2024. People are investing in that to provide more flexibility in their sales process for their shoppers. Now, dealers, they're responding to their customers' desire for an online to offline purchasing experience. Shoppers want this. 65% of shoppers say they would conduct some or most of the purchase process online, and 69% of dealers say customers influence adoption of online retailing tools. They're saying to the dealership when they go on, hey, I'd love to do more of this process online. So dealerships who are thriving are listening to their consumers and adopting more technology. And the thing is, too, is those dealerships that are adopting more technology, they're actually reporting that the transaction is somewhat easy or extremely easy. About 47% of those that were surveyed highlighted that, whereas about 30% said it was neutral. So not great, not terrible, but that shouldn't be a barrier to you transitioning to a more digitized, more streamlined process that can flex to the needs of your shoppers. Now, most online retailing solutions are actually meeting dealership goals. So they're overall pretty satisfied with those retailing solutions when they invest in them, right? 77% say their current online retailing solution meet their digital retailing goals. Hey, pretty good. Now, what we're also seeing is that the deals that are served up by DR tools serve up higher quality customers who are more likely to buy. So if they completed some steps online, 55% of those shoppers were likely to purchase from this dealer versus 46%, right? So a pretty big increase in the likelihood to purchase from the vehicle. We also have some stats from a couple of years ago with just digital retailing leads from Cox Auto's DR tool. The leads would actually close at about a 46% higher rate than those that came from like an e-pricer form or just a call in or even just a walk-in, right? Those leads close at a much higher rate coming from any other lead source. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. All right. What we've pulled from this, though, is there's still some room for improvement. So the key thing here is dealers need a seamless online to offline process to keep pace with rising consumer expectations. If anything, I want to add and say dealers need a process to get as many people into the digital retailing solution as possible because they're more likely to buy the car, to pay more for the car, and to be happier doing it, so they want to buy their next car from you. And this is something I've said for years now. So let's take a look at what's the future of shoppers' preferences are. So we ask people, hey, if you're going to buy a car in the next 10 years, what would you rather do? Right? Only 30% said, I want to go through a traditional dealership. The rest was highly fragmented, direct to consumer, online vehicle marketplace, an online dealership, private seller marketplace, cross-brand superstore, concierge service, and experience center. So what this tells me is everybody kind of has an idea of wanting to buy a car in their own special way. And dealerships need to have a way to flex their process to meet the needs of those shoppers versus just trying to jam them through this old way of doing things. And the other thing too is shoppers, the one thing that they report could be improved at the dealership most often was efficiency at the time of purchase. So shorter wait times, greater efficiency. Buyers and shoppers both said that time spent in the dealership could be improved. And if we look a little bit deeper into this, shoppers overall were idle for nearly a third of their time at the dealership. Buyers were idle for 40% of the time. Now, you might not value your customer's time and say, you know what, hey, we're still selling the car. But the likelihood that they might get frustrated during that idle time or start researching somebody else's vehicles at a different dealership grow up. They're spending time not being engaged with your salespeople, your finance manager, general manager, et cetera. And top steps that buyers spend more time than expected, right? So they thought, hey, I could just go and sign paperwork and do all this other stuff, was waiting to sign paperwork, right? And applying for financing. These are two things that I think you could streamline using a digital retailing tool. Definitely applying for financing, right? Hey, before you come in, go ahead, fill out your finance application through the DR tool. You've already scheduled out your payments, right? We've worked it with my sales manager. Everything looks good. And we can lock in that rate that you're looking to get. And then waiting to sign paperwork. Well, if you've worked that deal, you've got that person's finance application, they're basically ready to go. You can have it all lined up and ready to roll when they do come into that dealership, do the test drive, get your license scanned, et cetera. Boom, we're ready to roll. And that, really kind of points back to having a connected experience where data is being transferred where it needs to effectively, so you're not having to re-enter info over and over again. Now, franchise dealers, 7 in 10 dealers agree that online retailing tools create efficiencies at the dealership and positively impact the customer satisfaction and experience. And 7 out of 10 shoppers, consumers, agree that completing steps online prior to visiting the dealership save them time, increased efficiency, and improve their experience. It's a win-win for everybody. Now, if we can get somebody to do more of their steps online, so mostly digital buyer, so somebody who does 50% of the purchase process online or at home, on average, you're saving 42 minutes. Pretty solid, right? And it bumps their rate of high satisfaction from 71% from a light digital shopper to 81%. And we know that the average time to transact in a dealership is about 2 hours and 30 minutes, maybe sometimes 3, kind of goes back and forth. We could drop another 42 minutes off that, and that customer satisfaction index goes up. So great metrics there. Lacking seamless connected online to offline experiences that consumers expect can hinder efficiency. So this is really interesting. 85% of shoppers said, hey, the DR tool should save me time and allow me to seamlessly continue in store where I left off. But 97% of dealers said that the reality was that customers come in and they have to repeat steps in store, and it impacts dealership efficiency. 83% of them said that. So what's the breakdown? What are the things that are causing that breakdown? The tools are there. They've been able to pick up deals in store for years. So customers' number one issue is they need to repeat steps, and the deal terms are different online. So that points to me that maybe the tools aren't connecting to each other and not talking to each other, or your people are not using the tools correctly. So the top reasons for repeating steps in store reported by dealers: to verify that the online information is accurate. 68% said that. 30% said it's our process. Maybe you should update your process and, or dial in your tools so they work correctly. And to help build trust with the consumer. Well, if your online information is accurate and you update your process, the trust is going to take care of itself, right? Okay. The other challenge that we see is dealers are using multiple online retailing tools to power that purchase experience. So that results in data and integration challenges, right? One hand is not talking to the other. So 62% of dealers are using multiple online retailing solutions. And that's causing more expense. It's challenging for the staff. Data is inconsistent, data is redundant, and software does not integrate well into other systems, causing more problems. Okay, that's DR for now. We'll kind of come back to that in a little bit, but let's dive in a little bit further into AI. This is where things get kind of interesting. So, consumers and dealers are not quite aligned on the impact of AI, right? 83% of consumers say the rise of technologies like AI will impact the way they purchase vehicles over the next 10 years. And we're seeing it right now. People are using agents to search for vehicles and even negotiate with dealerships and research the best deal, research incentives, research competition for them, making them more informed, more efficient, more prepared than ever when they're making that first initial step with dealerships. But only 37% of dealers think AI is important to the evolution of dealership operations. So there's a big gap, right? Shoppers are feeling more and more empowered by AI. 37% of dealerships are thinking about it, but the rest, majority, haven't seen, what could be done with these tools. Now, the other thing too that we're seeing is younger generations, the tech-forward early adopters, are the driving force behind the growing acceptance of AI in car buying. And these are going to be the majority of people buying cars in the next 10 years, right? Gen X and millennials, they're the big median of the car buying public at the moment. Soon, it's going to be Gen Z and millennials. And then eventually it's going to be Gen Alpha. And who knows what they're going to be doing. But look at this. 59% of Gen Z and millennials are comfortable using a chatbot for common questions and standard vehicle information. 48% of them trust AI over a salesperson to analyze the history, so their customer history, and make vehicle recommendations. And 46% of them trusted AI over a human underwriter to analyze finances when applying for an automotive loan. So, the horse has left the stable, folks. People are trusting AI more than they're trusting humans when it comes to answering questions about the vehicle, to understanding their preferences and making vehicle recommendations, and also to approve their credit when applying for an automotive loan. That's kind of mind-blowing, honestly. I'm kind of thinking, well, where does this lead us? Because we're not there when it comes to meeting those needs of those shoppers. Now, dealers, they definitely need more education on AI. Many of those who are familiar with it, they don't use it, right? So you can see most people are going to be familiar with chatbots and analyzing consumer activity and generative AI and automated offers, but you can see only 29% of dealers are using those chatbots with a 24/7 response. 17% of dealers are using like a CDP to understand their customers' preferences. Only 15% are utilizing a Gen AI tool, and only 14% are utilizing automated offers. So let's go back. Huge chunk of these shoppers and soon-to-be shoppers are very comfortable with these tools, but we're kind of lagging behind when it comes to utilizing them. Now, the other thing too is we're not using it, but we think that it would be good, right? The number one benefit of AI to dealers, 54% of them agree that AI boosts productivity and efficiency and saves time, right? And this is 71% of those people were AI users, and even 44% of those who responded were non-AI users. Speeds up the deal, right? It makes the process seamless, and customers spend much less time at the dealership. Which we go back to that other slide. What was one of the biggest pain points? Idle time at the dealership. So you've got this solution that's going to save time at the dealership along with your DR tools, your digitized retailing process, streamlining that process, making the customer happier, wanting to buy that next car from you. Now, the customers who are willing to use AI say it's improved their experience, right? Now, 25% of shoppers, they think they interacted with a chatbot prior to their recent dealership visit. Most, we've kind of gotten to the point where it's kind of hard to determine whether or not chatbot's real or not. And that seems to be okay, right? Because 57% of buyers said it improved their dealership experience if they knew that they interacted with a chatbot because it provided immediate responses, 24/7 convenience, and personalized responses. So that's what's cool about these chatbots is they're awake 24/7. They don't need copy. They don't need a break. They are constantly learning, right? Today is going to be the dumbest that AI chatbot's ever going to be. It's always getting smarter, always getting better. And its primary directive is to provide a great experience for your shoppers and get them to buy. And it's going to keep working at that to make that happen. Now, we also know that shoppers, they're willing to provide more data if it powers personalization, right? So if they are able to personalize the process of buying a car, they're willing to share their credit score, their estimated down payment, what they want for their monthly payment, what their income is, the vehicle features and options that they're looking for, even their date of birth. And then, this is a big one here. 42% of shoppers prefer a text or an email with a link to a personalized offer. So what am I talking about there? How many times have you had a shopper call in and your salesperson responds, to the question of, hey, how much does this vehicle cost? What's my payment going to be? Or what's my trade-in worth? Is it available? And they just say, hey, we'll give you numbers if you come into the store. We know that most shoppers, they want that information before they come in. So what you can do is you can send them a link to their DR tool, to your DR tool, and answer all of those questions. And then when they do come into the store, they've completed more of the steps. So it's a kind of a layup as far as closing that deal because it's basically ready to go. And most shoppers, they prefer that process versus, hey, when can you come in? We'd rather not give you the numbers. You know what they're going to do? They're going to find your competition who will give them the numbers via that link and allow them to save a whole lot of time and hassle and effort to come into the dealership and just buy the car. Now, let's look at our thrivers versus our strivers when it comes to dealerships using this technology. Now, this is an interesting term, sales efficient dealers. This is dealers who have a very efficient process for selling cars and who are doing well in this market, right? Who can turn cars quickly, right? They're pricing them effectively. Their process is dialed in. They're getting people in and out quickly. And they're, just processing leads and getting them through that workflow, right? They are maximizing their digital potential. So let's dig into that a little bit more. So continuing to drive greater efficiency in sales and marketing right now is becoming more of a challenge, right? Overall, sales and marketing efficiency is dropping across the board. Now, what could that be? Well, it could be the market right now. Prices are more expensive across the board. It's not just vehicles, it's everything. It's your groceries, it's your rent, it's your utilities, it's the stuff that you're buying, just for fun. It's your iPhone, it's the vacation that you wanted to go on. So people are less likely to buy a car maybe now, but also marketing is more expensive because you've got a smaller pool of shoppers. So you're having to spend more to go after less people. And it's just harder to sell a car now than it was in the past. And if we were to go back to, 2021, I bet you the thrivers here would be in the 50% range versus, 36 or 24%. And let's go a little bit deeper here, right? The dealers who are driving greater efficiency, so those who are doing well, are more likely to outsource online retailing capabilities, right? So the average number of online retailing capabilities outsourced through a vendor. So basically what this means is they're doing more of the process online. Thrivers doing about 4.8 of the steps, other dealers 4.0, right? They're doing test drive scheduling, credit approvals, F&I selection, and paperwork signing. And they're integrating artificial intelligence technology into their sales process, right? So our top performers, the dealerships that we're seeing out there that are really crushing it still, they're using chatbots more often. They're analyzing consumer online activity more often. They're using Gen AI more often. And they're utilizing automated offers. So the percentage of thrivers who are using at least one AI capability, 49%. Other dealers, only 32%. So it's kind of telling me those who are investing in this kind of cutting edge tech more often are the ones who are succeeding at a higher level and who are more efficient and have, higher performing businesses. Goes right to this, right? Thrivers are early adopters of innovative online retailing solutions. So 76% of thrivers find the concept of these online retailing solutions appealing versus only 61% for other dealers. And 81% of thrivers say it could improve the dealership sales process versus 65%. So what we're doing is really trying to figure out how do we connect digitized retailing to AI to streamline that process for everybody, not just for the consumer, but for your sales staff, so they're not having to deal with as much BS like having to re-enter information, not having the correct information, having to wait, having to have your customers wait, not selling as many cars. That's what we're really talking about here. Now, the other thing too is Thriver's digital first mindset enables them to offer more seamless online to offline experiences, right? 73% of Thrivers say, hey, my tools are dialed in. They provide a good omni-channel experience. And 88% of Thrivers agree that they provide a seamless experience for customers where they can pick up in store where they left off online. So they've taken the time to make sure that their tools are talking to each other and they have a process and the training for their people to handle these kinds of deals effectively versus sending somebody back to square one after they've, completed much of the deal and they come into the store and have to re-enter their information for that dealership. And that sets them up for success, right? So 91% of Thrivers say their online retailing solution meet their dealership's goals, and they provided a positive impact for close rates, vehicle sales profit, employee satisfaction, vehicle sales volume, and gross profit per deal. So think about that. You're getting higher gross close rates. You're making more money. Your salespeople are happier, so they want to stick around longer. You're having lower employee churn. You're selling more vehicles and you're making more money over gross profit there. Pretty solid. So what are some key implications that we've got from all of this, right? I think number one is we want to think about investing in online retailing tools to enable all paths to purchase for shoppers and buyers, right? You can't just turn a DR tool on your website and set it and forget it. You got to train your people to utilize it, and you got to train your people to utilize it in the store. And better yet, every single deal, whether it starts by a phone call, an email, or if they walk into the store, you want to get them into the digital retailing experience. So send them that customized link or start them up in the digital retailing experience when they get into the store, pick up where they left off, because you're more likely to sell the car for more money with a happier customer. We want to make sure our data from our websites, our marketplaces, and our showroom experience is integrated, because we want to ensure that information is consistent for wherever and however customer shows up. The last thing we want to do is have that customer complete a lot of steps online, come into the dealership, and have to start back at square one. Not a great experience. So that means training your people to utilize the tools effectively and making sure your tools are communicating to each other and dialed in. And then finally, we want to look at leveraging AI, whether it's a chatbot, whether it's analyzing consumer behavior and activating offers, creating automated offers. What these tools do is they drive greater efficiency and deliver better insights for heightened personalization for your shoppers. So not only are we selling that one car to that shopper, we want to send or sell them that next car to them and have them talk about all the great experiences and why it was so awesome to buy from you to all their friends, so they want to buy from you as well. All right, so that's it. Thanks a lot for watching through this kind of extensive, long video, but hopefully you guys learned something. Tons of great stats in there, lots of great information that you can use to kind of take your business to the next level. I mean, like I said before, you got to be investing in these tools. You got to be training your people on them, and you got to be looking into AI as a way to add efficiencies for your dealership. If you want to download this whole study, check out the link below in the description. You can go right to it, download it, check it out, nerd out on it, have a lot of fun with it. Thanks again. Stay tuned for more episodes of Droppin Knowledge with Noah. I'm going to have some special guests coming up, and we'll see you next time.